Howdy folks, it's Glenn with the Cactus Atlas, and today I'm going to be exploring one of Texas's and maybe even one of the National Park System's most iconic landscapes, Santa Elena Canyon at Big Bend National Park. I'm standing at an overlook. We're not down at the trail proper, but the cool thing is you can hike in there. I think there's about a mile-long trail, something like that. And the left side, you're looking at Mexico. The right side, you're looking at the United States. Isn't that cool? Because you see, the US-Mexico border in these parts is unprotected. Well, unless this giant cliff is protection enough, but the Rio Grande River is the natural border between the US and Mexico. A place where you can safely take a look at our friends across the border with no obstructions. And really no people either. Kind of reminds me of the Narrows or something you'd see in Zion National Park. All right, enough talk, let's get to the trail. All right, I parked my car at the mostly empty parking lot, and I'm at the trailhead now, the Santa Elena Canyon Trail, and you can see the Mexican side of the canyon looming over these trees here. Wow. Here's a map of the trail and what we're going to be doing today. So I think we're going to be crossing over a creek and staying on the United States side. See, I wasn't lying to you, that's Mexico. US, and we're going to be staying on the right side going up and maybe getting our feet wet. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, this is probably one of the things that I was most excited to see when I was planning my trip here at Big Bend, just because of the iconic nature of this, as well as just the grandiose scenery. And don't get me wrong, this park has lots to offer, some majestic scenery, some of the best I've seen, but this in particular is going to be something cool. Man, I cannot get this whole thing in frame. I need a wide angle lens, I think, for this camera. Holy crap. So this is the creek crossing, and it's dry as a bone. There's no water here. In fact, I'm wondering if we're gonna see any water at all. It's like complete sand in there, so we may be able to walk further than a mile today. I wasn't expecting that, so I'm wondering then, someone tell me, is this the Rio Grande? The Rio Grande? Or does it connect in there somewhere else? And if so, how do you know when you're in Mexico or the US, or does it matter? Or is it like neutral zone in the middle? Maybe that's what it is, because I know when you get in there further, when the trail ends, it's pretty much water wall to wall. So I'm really curious to see. That's kind of cool to see a completely dry scenario. I saw water, I could have sworn down that ways. And we'll find out. Now I am going to stick to the trail proper, just to have the experience of doing the official trail. But maybe we'll come back straight up brute force through the middle if there's no water. Because yeah, this is what I would assume would be the creek, not the Rio Grande. And then what goes in the canyon I thought was the Rio Grande. I could just be wrong and uneducated. I didn't really study hard for this exam today. But what I do know is we have to ascend some stairs now, and we're gonna go up high. And looky there. And I don't know if this gets a lot of sun during the day, but I was exposed earlier and I don't want it anymore. So it's very pleasant being in the shade, and my camera's not gonna overheat every 30 seconds, I hope. You can see, you got a lot of switchbacks here. A lot of stairs. I wouldn't even say stairs, that's the wrong term. Just a paved pathway that's switching back quite a few times. Starting to breathe a little heavy. Smells like the beach for some reason, like that briny smell. I don't know if it's just me or if that's a real thing. Maybe this explains why there's no water. I guess up to 86% of the water you see here is from the Rio Grande River. It flows into the Rio Grande, but I guess because of dams, the modern river flows are not what they used to be. The left would show the pre-1600 flows and today, and we're here. So this is the Rio Grande. I was right, but there is no Rio Grande here. What's strange and interesting is I was over by Boquillas Canyon, and that was flowing pretty well. It's definitely a river. There were places where you could certainly wade across no problem, but there was water. Ah, there is water down there, and I do think it's going to be wall to wall. Interesting, it's just kind of not flowing, but there's water. 1,500 foot cliffs. I forget how high the cliffs at the Narrows are. I know they're over 1,000 feet. Not sure if they're 2,000 feet at some places, but this is like that. This is the scale to think about when if you've been there and you haven't been here. I mean, that's how big this is, if you know what I'm talking about. And if you look very carefully, there are people down in the riverbed and there are folks hiking up the trail. I'm not sure how muddy that is. It looks kind of muddy at points, so I'm not sure if I want to go back that way and get really muddy before I head back to camp. So the uphill section was not bad. I thought I barely broke a sweat, which isn't true. The heat is making me break a sweat, but it wasn't bad. And you could see the trail's a little rocky, but I would say due to the short nature of it, I would call it easy, but it's got some ankle twisting potential. So be careful. Wow, just the lighting right now. Shooting out from that one side is spectacular. There are some folks that I saw earlier kind of walking in the riverbed, and I think the trail heads down, and then at some point you can't go any further unless you do a float trip or something like that, which I think is permissible. Something I would love to do, but I'm assuming the river needs to flow better for that to happen. I almost want to say it's a better view from the mouth of the canyon or even the Overlook. Just for the scenic, like it's the landscape. But you gotta come down here though, because it's nuts standing at the base of these cliffs and just feeling how insignificant you are as a human compared to all of the millions of years that it probably took to form this. It gets more difficult to film though the deeper you get in here, just because you're just too close up on this stuff. And I've seen other folks with a wide angle lens come in here and they even remark the same. It's just no way to describe it without being here. How many times have I said that up to this point? Amy's probably gonna keep a ticker. Oh, look at that giant, humongous building size piece of stone that probably broke off and fell. Wow, imagine that, being here to witness that and what you would have heard and felt as it just crashed into the ground. Imagine if you were underneath that. That's scary. It's so big, it totally blocks the view of the canyon, in fact. And we rounded a corner, and now you can see a whole new section of the canyon that you couldn't see at the beginning. I don't think we have that much further to go, but we're gonna keep going until we can't go no more. And who would have thought this? They have desert beavers. I never would have guessed that. Okay, and here's our first view of the river. So I'm gonna guess, if you wanna get really technical, the other bank is Mexico. That's something I need to research. Does anybody know? Is that how they divide it, as just based on the river, even regardless of when it's flowing or not? Or is really the border like at the top of the cliff? Is this like an international neutral zone? I don't know. The maps don't tell you that, it just shows US, Mexico. I'm guessing we must have reached the end, because this is basically saying, hey, now that you explored the canyon on foot, do it by canoe, kayak, or raft. Ask a ranger or local outfitter to learn more. I will do some research, because that sounds fantastic, doing a float trip. Not many folks are coming down here. Although I think I hear some voices, but they never seem to get closer. I think things echo in the canyon. Oh, speaking of echoes, maybe I should give that a shot. It's been a long time since I gave a good hoot. Now every time I do this, I get disappointing results with the video camera. But I'm gonna try this a couple different ways. I'm gonna have the camera facing the same way I'm hooting. So listen carefully. Woo! One more for measuring. People are answering me now. Woohoo! That wasn't my echo, that was somebody else. It does look pretty muddy. I probably could cross. I see a spot where a lot of others have tried to cross over. But before we think about that, let's come over here, because this time of the day is magical back here. Wow. The reflections, the giant cliffs. So I spied this trail here that looks well worn and dry, but to the right or left is very muddy. And I'm gonna guess this isn't really gonna allow me to cross. Maybe it will, actually. So do you guys think I'm actually treading over into Mexico or not? This is a really well pronounced trail, so for whatever reason, I guess it's just compacted and it dries faster than the surrounding material, so I might actually be able to go further. Wasn't planning on it, but what the heck. We're here now, so we might as well. I gather that normally that's probably about as far as you can go, is that other side when there's water, unless you want to get wet. But maybe this is one of the benefits of coming in the hotter time of the year. Maybe there's an extreme drought that's creating these conditions. I really don't know. But this is awesome. Just check that out. This is one of the best days of the year. I'm like right where the US side is casting a shadow on Mexico. That sounds funny. This is so cool. It does feel like the Narrows, albeit wider and without the water flowing through. And I've been in the Narrows on what I think people have told me is a very low flow time of year. I've not seen it when it could really be flowing, but this is no flow over here. You can also see the footsteps went from hundreds to not many. I even think I see horseshoe prints. Oh yeah, that's really slimy and muddy. This might be the end of the line, folks. But yeah. Ooh. If you had a desire to hike through the water though at this time, I'm sure you could go miles back here is my guess. Okay, look at that. And I am all alone back here. Nobody's chosen to follow in my footsteps. At least not yet. I would have thought those people that were hooting back at me would have followed me over here, but I guess they didn't want to. Their loss. Yeah, that's gonna be as far as I'm gonna go. I didn't come prepared. I didn't bring hiking boots. And I also just don't want to get muddy. I know I sound like a wimp, but I wasn't really planning on this. I just thought I'd go down that side trail. And I'm camping and I got an early morning and I just don't want to make a mess. Although it wouldn't take much doing to wash off my boots, I suppose. But my other excuse is I got an hour drive back through the scenic route in Big Bend. And I was hoping to get some cool photography during sunset, because I've got maybe, if I play my cards right, if I get back to the car and start heading back, I'll probably hit that section at just the right time. So that's my other excuse. And in just that short amount of time, when I walked down to that point down there and came back, the sun is just a sliver. The shadow cast by the US side has almost blocked out all sunlight from the canyon. But sunset is not for a good couple hours from now. So it doesn't mean the sun is setting, it just means that we're inside of a deep canyon. I couldn't think of a better place to end this episode. So, Santa Elena Canyon at Big Bend National Park. I would say this is the premier spot, the place you really need to make sure you visit when you come here sometime.